Okay, and we're now going to move over to each partner is going to present in short their work. So there'll be 6 shortish presentations. What I'm going to ask of all of you, again, and I'm going to go back to the point of the workshops, if you're intrigued or interested in particular by what one of the partners is saying, make sure you attend the workshops and you'll hear much more about it, and also have the chance to do some hands-on some work around their particular things. Okay, I don't remember who's next, but speech and language.
First in the order this time. Just to let you know, I've heard a couple of, I think, fire alarms in other rooms, so there may be an unlucky partner who gets a fire alarm in the middle of theirs. So apologies in advance.
We have to give them the time back, right?
Yeah.
I think it might be me if it's
That one's you. You can just click through Canvas first.
That should be. So,
yeah, do you want to see it?
It'd be nice. Well, if I could at least see the slide without turning around, it'd be helpful. But in the meantime, I'll just introduce myself. So I'm from Speech and Language UK. I'm Susan Richards. I was going to be joined by my colleague Anne-Marie, but she's currently stuck on a train somewhere on the outskirts of Birmingham that's stuck in a flood. So you've just got me for the moment. Hopefully she'll be along a bit later. So just to tell you a little bit about who we are.
I need to click on it. Hold on. That's the problem. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, but so if I click on this, it'll move on with that.
It should work with the clicker now. Try again.
Where do I point it? It's gone completely.
There we go.
So we are Speech and Language UK. You may have come across us previously. We used to be called ICANN. We're now called Speech and Language UK, which sort of tells you exactly who we are and what we do on the tone. And our vision is that every child who's facing challenges with talking and understanding words can look to the future with confidence, because our mission is that we're going to give children and young people the skills that they need so that they aren't left behind waiting to be understood. And so what we do, we create tools for schools, for nurseries, we deliver training, we give advice and guidance to families, we put pressure on politicians to make sure that speech, language and communication in the early years is kind of at the forefront of people's thinking when they're thinking about policies. And we also try to practice what we preach. We have 2 specialist schools of our own for children with complex speech and language challenges. We've got one in Nottingham and one down in Surrey. And so, because really we know that, well, our estimate is about 1.9 million children in the UK learning to talk and to understand words is just such an impossible hurdle, or it feels like it's an impossible hurdle. But we know that with the right help, we can make a difference. But without that help, then actually, you know, it can destroy their world. It really affects their life chances. So that's what we're all about trying to do. So what we're doing through the EYSEND partnership is really encouraging local authorities to take a whole system, integrated, graduated approach to supporting speech, language and communication needs. And we're working through the family hub areas, really so that people are able to really prioritise communication, so that talking, understanding words, children's communication is one of the priority areas that these authorities are going to work on. And really what we'd like to think of ourselves as being a critical friend. So talking through with the authorities, supporting them in developing their communication pathway so that it's local, so it's based around that local context, the local needs, the local area, that it's integrated, so it's all services working together. It's not just about, you know, what one aspect of the local authority doing, it's not just about what the speech and language therapy service are doing, but everyone working together thinking, what is our role in supporting speech, language and communication? And we also think a bit about workforce development as part of that. So do the people who are working with families have the right skills that they need to be able to support them? And what can we do to support you to develop your workforce to get those skills? And by doing this, what we aim to do is to create a long-term, so not just while we're here, but carrying on afterwards, a long-term system-wide change to meet all of those children's speech and language needs. And that's from pre-birth, children are learning language while they're still in the womb. So it's all about talk to your bump, from pre-birth right through, so that actually all of those, that development right through childhood is there, and that the speech and language communication support is there. So how are we going to do this? Well, we've got a couple of strands that we're doing, 3 in fact. So strand 1 is targeted strategic support for those family hub areas and for those family areas to be able to network amongst themselves as well. So this is about really supporting areas to develop that strategic approach to creating a pathway. So we can either do that as in-depth support, so we've got funding to work with 7 areas, kind of really going in depth to support them seeing what their situation is, developing that pathway across a series of action learning sets. And we also have a slightly light touch offer with authorities who are perhaps a little bit further down their journey, where we can continue to offer that sort of supportive guidance to them. We have some pathway surgeries. We try to bring everyone together in network action learning sets so that everyone can talk to each other. Oh, well, we did it like this and we did it like this and we found that. And you can actually learn from each other in that way. So that's kind of one way that we're doing it to support that pathway development. The second one is also around training, because as part of that pathway, you might look at your workforce and decide or realise that, oh yeah, we don't really have the right training that matches the skills and knowledge that we want our staff to have. So that's kind of the part of what strand 2 is going to be. So we do a baseline audit. What skills do you think people need? What skills are you offering? Where do we need to fill in those gaps? And then we can actually work in developing that workforce training offer with you. And again, that's across 7 areas. It'd be through action learning sets, workforce mapping, and analysing your training needs, and actually towards the end of that process to be able to actually put together some specific bespoke training for your area that you'll be able to deliver around what does your area need in terms of developing that workforce around speech, language and communication.
Train.
Oh yeah, I know, I think we're all stuck with trains this morning. Okay, so that's 2 of the strands, and then our 3rd strand that we're doing is open access training. So this is brilliant because it's for absolutely everybody. We're putting it on. All you need to do is log on and come to it. So it's really about kind of particularly again focused on the family hub workforce. So that sort of new whole group of people who are going to be working together for speech, language and communication. And so we have 3 workshops that you can come to. One is an introduction to speech, language and communication in the early years. And then there's speech and language challenges in the early years. So those children who are experiencing some difficulties, how do you identify those needs and how do you support those children? So thinking kind of, you know, more universally, perhaps more targeted for identifying those children who need support. And then a 3rd one, which is about supporting the children who've got the most complex speech and language challenges and including social communication differences in that one as well. And so, you know, anyone can log on and come along to that training offer. So they run every month, and they will be running every month for the next year and a bit, isn't it, until for this funding cycle. So those ones are ongoing. We also have some parent workshops. So these top ones, these are kind of really for the workforce, but we're also doing some parent workshops. So again, if you've got parents who have concerns around their child's speech and language and what they can do to support, then this will be the ones for them. We're running those in collaboration with Contact. And again, there's an introduction to speech and language challenges, supporting your child. So what can you do at home that will make a difference? And then a particular one, because this is what a lot of parents had asked for, concerned about their child who had some most social communication challenges. So again, one particularly about supporting your child who has social communication challenges and what you can do to help. So again, you just log on to those to go on and do that. So that's part of what we're doing. Is this the other slide? No, I was going to say, is this the long slide? Because I've got a slide. Okay, yeah, sorry. I got a bit confused when I was up to. So just thinking about the pathway, I've said that's part of what we're doing. So why would you need one? Why would you need something like a speech, language and communication pathway? So what we know is that in some areas of disadvantage, it can be up to 50% of children who arrive at school without really the speech, language and communication skills that they need in order to be able to effectively access the curriculum. So particularly in some areas, and we know obviously a lot of the family hub areas have been kind of chosen to be family hub areas because they are experiencing disadvantage. So it can be a really significant factor in those children in those areas. But actually, a lot of those challenges that those children are experiencing could be preventable if they have good support right from the very beginning by maximising the environmental influences for speech and language development. They can develop those skills in a way that perhaps they're not currently able to. And that's through doing universal and targeted support. And so an effective way of how you get that universal targeted support in place for those children is so that if everybody knows how to identify those needs and how to provide that effective support through those different kind of roles that people have as part of the family hubs and through the different pathways available, then I'm assuming that will mean that support goes into place. For a minute, I thought it was a fire bell, and I thought that's a very musical fire bell. And it actually comes into the Family Hub programme guide. So it actually says children and families get fast, effective support, identified early communication and language needs through multi-agency pathways, which are co-designed with your speech and language service. So this actually is part of that Family Hub guidance. It's an expectation that you're going to work together to kind of put this pathway in place to make sure that those needs are identified and then supported. So just as a kind of a little illustration of what this might look like for a family. So we've got the Red family. So the Red family live in a local authority where they haven't yet sort of taken these steps to have a joined up approach. So they meet various people as they go through their kind of sort of child journey. So they meet their radiographer at the 20-week scan, who talks to them about kind of stopping smoking, having a healthy weight and so on. They meet the midwife, who talks them through their birth plan. They meet the health visitor, who does a check after birth. They go to a couple of meetings at the Family Hub. They meet the health visitor for the 2-year check. They go to nursery see them through the EYFS, and then off they go to school, which is great. Everyone's done their job, but actually a lot of opportunities to talk about speech, language and communication have been missed, so that when the child arrives at school experiencing difficulties, actually those could have been picked up a lot earlier. So if we take a different example, this is the Green family, and the Green family live in an area where the local authority is starting to think about this, and they're starting to put a few things in place around speech, language and communication. And so they also go for their 20-week scan, but this time the radiographer talks to them about smoking and weight and what have you, and says, oh, and did you know in a couple of weeks your baby will be able to start hearing you? When you talk to your bump, they're already starting to learn language. That's really helping them learn to talk. And then, you know, they see the midwife, the health visitor visits them and talks about, you know, immunisations and so on. And they go to the Family Hub, and then the Family Hub leader runs a session about how babies learn to talk and shares some tips about what parents can do to help their child at home with speech, language and communication. And then, you know, they see the health visitor, they do the 2-year check, they go to nursery, and the nursery run a stay and play and share some videos of different strategies that parents are using, and say, this is what we do at nursery, how play supports speech and language. So they're getting kind of, you know, more messages about what they can do to help their child. And then finally, we have the Blue family, and the Blue family live in an area where actually the local authority have taken that full long-term strategic approach to thinking about speech, language and communication. And so they meet the same set of professionals. They go and see the radiographer at 20 weeks who said, oh yeah, if you talk to your bum, that will really help with your child's talking and understanding words. And the midwife talks to them about the birth plan and says, oh, and here are some top tips that you can be doing right from the start to help with your baby's talking and understanding words. And then the health visitor passes on some information. They go to the Family Hub and they have a session about how babies learn to talk and what they can be doing at home. And then the health visitor does the 2-year check. But because they know that what 2-year development looks like, because they've been talked about it from the Family Hub, they're able to voice some of the concerns they have about their child. And then they go to nursery, and nursery have another session where they talk about what they're doing to support speech and language and what parents can do at home. And then this family feel really reassured that actually whatever they've been doing things all along that have been really helping support their child's speech and language. And so we think everyone should live in a Blue family area, because actually all of those opportunities from all of those different people, that they've got the same kind of messaging, they've been picking up more and more information, which means that they know that they're doing the best for their child, and that child's needs are being identified or supported, whether that's through universal or through something more targeted. So why don't you come and find out more? So we're having our workshop this afternoon, and the thing is that really anyone can develop a pathway. We're here to be your guide through it. So the workshop this afternoon, we're going to sort of show you kind of how we go about that, some of the different tools that will enable you to think about creating, establishing or evaluating a pathway that you've got. And we're going to share some inspiring best practice. We've got our friends from Dudley here. They've been through this process with us over the last couple of years, and they're going to talk to us this afternoon about how they've gone about the process in their particular area, which will hopefully inspire you to think about how you might do it in your areas too. So come on this afternoon. Thank you. That's me done.
Thank you. Next is Mason, and this is going to be a bit of a test of the tech and see if Anna can present online. Anna, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, and we can see you bottom right corner, so that's
dear,
great.
that's not good for anybody.
You look lovely. So I will just do the slides for you. Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine for me, if that's okay with you. Fab, you just need to click another one. Lovely. And I will be 100% the person who the fire alarm goes off for, because that's the way my life works. Morning, everybody. I'm so sorry I'm not there in person. I was due to be, but train chaos meant that I ended up not making it due to flooding. So apologies for that. Hopefully I may get there later, but I'll have to see what's happening. So hello, thank you very much for having me. I'm Anna Speak. I'm the Early Years Education Officer at NASON, and we're really privileged to be part of the Early Years EYSEND Partnership to support practitioners and settings mainly in their work supporting children and families. So it's really lovely to sort of be here, but I wish I was actually there in person. So next slide, please, Christina. So we are NASON. We are the National Association for Special Educational Needs, if you're not familiar with us. We are a charity supporting the educational workforce to support the needs of all pupils, particularly those with special educational needs and disabilities. And we do that through CPD, through training, through information sharing, and opportunities to attend events, networking, those kind of things. We're a membership organisation, membership's free, so we share lots of resources, training offers, all sorts of things really. Next slide, please. So I am just going to talk through our offer as part of the Early Years Partnership. So our focus as part of the partnership is on supporting family hub areas and settings to offer a whole setting approach in inclusive practice in the early years. So we've got various strands to our offer. The first of those is meeting the needs of every child training. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That's the one, yeah. And those are 2-hour live webinars for early years practitioners, including practitioners from maintained settings, from PVI settings, childminders, new SENCOs. The session is sort of an introduction overview to SEND in the early years, so great for practitioners working as a key person, for example, people in all sorts of roles. Those sessions are delivered online at a range of times and dates to suit practitioners, so there's morning, afternoon, evening sessions. The evening sessions are proving particularly popular at the moment, but there is a range. The sessions cover responsibilities of settings towards children with SEND, key legislation for early years, the role of the SENCO, the role of the key person and responsibilities of everybody in a setting, what inclusive practice looks like, working with parents and carers and other agencies, and also sharing some free resources to support in those areas. So that's sort of our universal offer, training open to everyone to book on to, come along to. Sessions are bookable now up until the end of March, and then there will be sessions after March as well. There's a QR code here and links and things, and I know these slides will be shared with you afterwards, so should be fairly easy to find if that's something that is of interest. Obviously all completely free and funded to access. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then so that's sort of our universal offer. And then for the targeted areas, we're working with 7 family hub areas in the first phase of the project and 8 family hub areas in the second year of the project. And for that targeted offer for those areas, we offer early years reviewer training. Next one, please. So that introduces the tools and the knowledge to carry out a full supportive SEND review in early years settings. So that training, the early years SEND reviewer training, is for primarily SENCOs and setting managers in those family hub areas that we're working with. And that then enables them to carry out a full or partial review in their setting, and then potentially in partner settings as well. So peer reviews, really powerful way to improve practice. And crucially, how to use those outcomes, how to use those reviews, to improve outcomes and have an impact for children, for families, for practitioners in their setting. So that training covers why it's important to carry out a SEND review, how to carry them out supportively. It's very much a supportive practice, not at all inspection-y or anything like that, quite the opposite. Who to involve in the review, what to do after the review, and how and when to report back. And most importantly, how to ensure that we do have that impact. It's very much about making those reviews meaningful and impactful. It's not a tick box exercise. It's to make sure that we have the impact for children and families. Next slide, please. Keep going, thank you. And then as the third part of our offer, we have our action learning set strategic work. So, hold on, sorry, I've just messed my slides up. Next one, please, thank you. So those action learning sets, that strategic support, are an opportunity for local early years and SEND teams to get all the relevant stakeholders together around the table to develop a strategic action plan for SEND in the early years. Those sessions are led by one of our brilliant NASEN associates and are attended by a range of people, which varies depending on the area. So it's very much bespoke to the area, the teams we're working with, and what their priorities are. Those sessions might include family hub representatives, healthcare, educational psychologists, speech and language therapists, early help representatives, parent carer forum representatives, nursery chain representatives, all sorts. It just depends on the priorities in each area. Those action learning sets are really there to support that strategic planning, develop that multi-agency approach, as I said, completely bespoke to each area, and they lead to that clear action planning, again, that clear impact, which is what we're there for. Historically, those sessions have had a really big impact. They've kicked off new projects, they've created working parties to develop outputs addressing key priorities in particular areas. Following those, we'll be having network action learning sets, which will be an opportunity for those areas involved to get together to discuss how things have gone, what's gone well, what challenges have been, what shared challenges might be, and to problem solve solutions together, hear what other teams in other areas have been doing, which I think is a really valuable part of the project as well. Next one, please. And then keep clicking through. Thank you to the last one. And then finally, we've got our online national seminar. Next one, please. So on Tuesday, actually, it's coming up, we have our first national seminar for this phase of the project. That's in the afternoon from 12:30 to 3:30, again, completely free to access. It's for all practitioners in early years education in a range of different roles. The agenda includes a national update from our NASEN CEO, Anna-Marie Hassel, MBE. We've also got Speech and Language UK doing a session for us. Thank you very much, Speech and Language UK. And sessions from one of our partner areas as well around that inclusive whole setting practice in the early years. So hopefully focusing on things that are going to be really useful for practitioners who are there. So that might be people working in the local authorities, it might be practitioners working in setting, working in nurseries, childminders. Everybody is really welcome to that, and there is a sign up link there to that as well. Next one, please. Keep clicking through. That's it. Fab. So that's our offer. In my workshop later, I'm going to be looking a little bit more at whole setting inclusion. So please do come along if that's going to be something that's of interest. And if you would like more information about our early years projects or our work in the partnership, my email address is here. Hopefully I might be there in person in a bit, but we'll see how we get on. And please do feel free to get in touch. I'm here to support and help in whatever way I can. And that's it from me.
Thanks so much, Anna. We heard you crystal clear. So
and no fire alarm. Made it through.
No fire alarm. The risk continues. Okay, I think we've got ECU next. Should work now.
Is it the sideways there?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So it's my turn to be in the risk hazard for the fire alarm. Fabulous. It's like passing the baton, isn't it? I'm going to be relatively brief because At National Children's Bureau ECU, we've got a teeny tiny but perfectly formed element of the project that we're delivering, so it won't take me very long. But just to introduce myself, I'm Teresa Johnson. I'm a programme lead at the Early Childhood Unit, and I'll be joined later by Dr. Kathy Hamer, who's one of our wonderful associates, who's been delivering some of the training which I'm going to talk to you about. But I'm hoping people have heard of National Children's Bureau. Some nods, fantastic. So the Early Childhood Unit is responsible, sounds a little bit, but the name is the clue is in the title, but we work obviously to support outcomes for children, young children in particular, and work collaboratively across organisations to support the sector, but also to influence policy as well. So our piece of work is around the home learning environment, and that is actually one of the family hub outcomes that they have to work towards as well. So if you're interested in home learning, this is my early pitch for our workshop later. We're doing a lot around talking about home learning and how particularly that supports children and families with SEND. So that's what we're going to be doing. So similarly, you'll see a theme here. Action learning sets are running across the programmes actually from all different providers. So we're going to be doing a small number of action learning sets with a small number of local family hub areas. And then we're going to bring those family hub areas together and bring them together to talk about the actions that they've taken forward. We're also doing some training in those particular areas. Has anybody heard of the REAL, Making It Real, as a training product? Some nods, fantastic. So Making It Real stands for Raising Early Achievement in Literacy, and it's an evidence-based programme from Dr. Kathleen Brown and Peter Hannon at the University of Sheffield. So a really research-based programme that makes a massive difference to children's early literacy and language, and so simple, and that's how it can be easily adapted for all children. So the special approach to Making It Real, we're delivering those sessions for practitioners, and then we're also doing some for parents as well in those particular areas. So that's what we'll be talking about this afternoon. Plus, we've also got some open access courses for anyone to attend, and those are across all areas, and 8 of those in total. And then we're creating a parent digital resource, which will be those simple, low cost, no cost activities that parents can do with their children with SEND. So that's our kind of small but perfectly formed offer. 2 local authorities in this particular year, when I say this year, it ends the end of March financial year, which is Brent and Kent. I like those because I can remember them because they rhyme. And then 3 in year 2, which are yet to be determined. And oh yeah, Hounslow we're just talking about, but tipping those over into the next financial year. So we've already run an action learning set in Kent, which was how our kind of partners described with getting those people around the table to kind of explore what that common language looks like, and to kind of join people up who you'd think were joined but weren't necessarily. So it's been one of those really helpful processes. And again, the purpose of those action learning sets is, as we said, is to kind of look at what the plans are overall. And some local authorities are further ahead with that than others in terms of their starting points for family hubs. The messaging and consistent language is really important, particularly for parents, and particularly for parents who are facing those challenges of waiting for a diagnosis or just waiting for other professionals to be involved. So there's thinking about what is it we can do to support those parents while they're waiting or they're on that journey. And of course, helping people to recognise where they fit into that clear pathway and that family hub offer. So I think that's me. That was a bit of a whistle stop. It was. I'm handing it to you, Catherine. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Teresa. Your clicker.
Sorry. Oh, it works.
Yeah,
okay.
it does. Should do.
We're doing that one. Right. Hi, everybody. So I'm Catherine McLeod. I'm the Chief Executive of Dingley's Promise. Dingley's Promise supports children with SEND in the early years. It's all we do. It's everything we do. It's why we get up in the morning. We're absolutely passionate about it. So I'll tell you a little bit more about us now. So we have specialist nursery provision for children with SEND. A year ago, we had 3 centres. Next month, we'll have 6 centres. And next year, we may have another 8. So we're growing very, very fast. But we're totally focused on making sure that those early years centres, although they're specialist, build wider inclusion, so that they have a really strong focus on making sure that children who leave us, wherever possible, go to the mainstream rather than going directly into special school. So we work with children, families, and also mainstream providers. And yeah, we have had thousands of transitions over 40 years. So we're this year 41 years old. And so and yeah, lots of people say to me, have you been there since the beginning? I'm like, seriously? Come on. So we are, this is what we do. We're very much focused on a movement to build more inclusion in the early years across the country. And this is very much, we've got a lot of local authority partners, some of which are in the room today, lovely partners. So we work really strongly with local authorities, and we have an advisory and a support role with them. We do that also through the DFE. So we are the Department for Education's advisor for delivering better value and safety valve local authorities on early years SEND. That's something new because they didn't realise they needed it, and they have now realised they needed it. That's what we're doing. So again, if you're one of those local authorities, have a chat with me and we can give you some support through the DFE as well. And we're lobbying a lot. So this is interesting. This is a new hot off the press. Not many people know this yet, but we've just got the minister to agree to send out guidance again to local authorities saying high needs block funding should be spent on the early years as well as the rest of the education system, because some local authorities are telling us that their leaders are telling them it's not for early years. It is. And what they're also going to send out again is more guidance to local authorities on the childcare sufficiency assessments, and saying they have to look at the supply and demand for children with SEND, not just say, oh, there's a section on SEND, we have SENIF and we have DAF. That's not enough. So those messages will be coming out. So if you need to use them to influence leaders in your local authority, it's coming, and you'll be able to wave that in front of people's faces to raise the profile of the early years, because that's what we're all here for, isn't it? Okay, and our transitions journey. So our part of this programme is focused on transitions. Why are we talking about it? As I said, we've had thousands of transitions over the last 40 years. For us as an organisation, 10 years ago, we were a very traditional sort of specialist provider who had specialist nurseries, held children, held families, wrapped them up and pretty much sent them off to special school. That's what we were, which I joined 9 years ago, and we started to have conversations about, right, what should we be doing? How do we build wider inclusion? So we introduced our exit entry pathway about 8 years ago now, and the entry exit pathway really clearly looks at how do we move children through early years provision by looking at the child themselves and their development, but also the family, what they want, how they're feeling, really supporting that family, to understand that there are lots of different options, and also to understand that actually to move to a mainstream is not necessarily going to be bad, because I think in a lot of our areas, in a lot of parent groups, it's the horror stories that are repeated. And what we were really looking at was, let's try and talk about what are the benefits of going into mainstream, so that those who will thrive there get the opportunity to go there. And then the last part around that entry exit pathway is supporting our settings. And so we started doing all of this, and the settings were sort of saying, oh, this is great, but when you do start transitioning all these children to us, can we have some training? And we're like, yeah, of course.